Welcome! Today is our last video of our plane setup series, and today we're going to discuss a very important subject, which is maintenance, to make sure you don't damage your planes and also to make sure they will last for a longer time doing peak performance. So that's a very important part, and we could consider two different areas here. Good practice on your daily basis and the annual maintenance that I think it's very, very good to do to all of your planes. And I've just done that. So you can see here, all of those planes, I've spent a couple of days improving them, doing all the yearly maintenance really that I need to do. And I'll show you on this one, which is one I just left spare for you to see the whole process. And we're gonna dive deep into it. But let's begin just by the good practice tips I can give you for this to avoid getting your planes damaged. Maybe the most important one is keep your hands clean for two reasons. One is that the fat and the sweat in your hands, it's extremely corrosive and it will rust metal tools very, very quickly. So if you keep your hands clean and dry, you will be able to not get all your tools rusty very quickly. Okay, so that's a good practice. It's also a good moment to, to collect yourself, to gather your thoughts, to see how you feel while you're washing your hands, and that makes a huge difference because you create a small, a small space for you instead of rushing through a project, just to be able and get yourself some quality time and good rhythm. And also all the dirt in your hands will get into your tools, and I think you all know these tools that they become all gray, covered in muck, which is actually your hands fat with filth and dirt and things like that. And then you get gray tools, particularly wooden handles. They become gray, and every time you grab a tool you get your hands dirty, and it's kind of a cycle that is very difficult to get rid of. So just keep your hands clean and everything will improve a great deal, and you will avoid rust significantly as well. Another good idea also is to metal planes, to always grab them through their wooden parts and try and avoid touching the sole, touching the sides as much as you can. Okay. Then another thing I want to point out, people love, especially on Instagram, I get so many comments about how wrong everybody thinks it is to just leave a hand plane standing like this. And I think this is because in every woodworking school you find very old benches which are filled with staples and nails and things like that, and then you've got all these teenagers filled with hormones, and it's a deadly combination for a hand plane because people tend to throw them, especially even in the tool well. If you have many things and you have a very crowded tool well and you throw things at it, you might get the blade nicked. But so they always insist that you should, and I learned this at school, that you should leave a plane resting on its side this way. But if you are orderly and clean and you know how to work, the best way to leave a hand plane, of course, is this one. The blade is protected here, and even if you throw something at it, the blade won't get damaged. And my workbenches get all cleaned up once a year. When I just dress them, I reflatten them, and they are always as clean as me and my students get to keep them. So there is no point whatsoever in leaving a plane on its side. Okay, but this is in this context, in a context of a workshop where everything is cared for and things are done respectfully, and I would invite you to explore that. So I've got people from all over the world feeling very great about telling me how wrong this is. and it isn't. If you want to go a step further, you could just put a tiny strip of wood underneath, and that would be, you know, the ideal solution. But I'm kind of a little bit lazy for that, and yeah. So, and always on the tool well, because it's the only way you will avoid getting things dropped on the floor, and that's very important as well. Sometimes you just, you know, if you don't have a tool well, I think it's a great idea to add one. If you don't have a tool well and you leave a tool near the edge of your workbench, as soon as you hit it with an elbow, something like that, you might see it on the floor, and that's quite a tragedy, really. So try and avoid that as well. Yeah, so those are a few handy tips, and also, of course, okay. So this is Camelia oil. I have it here in a small spray, and this is one of the greatest rust preventive products I know. This is natural. It comes from Camelia sinensis, I think, the tea tree plant, and it's been used in Japan for many things, two of them being preventing rust in woodworking tools, and also the geishas used it to take care of their skin. So this is a natural product, and I like it very much because of that. And the way not to get it all over the place is just to spray a little drop here, and then this little drop is enough for a whole day. Even with my students, when we have several hand planes, just that's plenty enough. And this is one of the many solutions we've found. It's just a pot. This one was made for me by a student, and it has a kind of a tiny pad, and I can use it this way after a day's work. I do this only at the end of the day, but I do it every time, every day I work. I make sure all the tools I've been touching, they get their thin layer of Camelia oil this way, in all the metal parts. Of course, brass, bronze, and stainless steel, they don't need it. But that's a great way, and my hands stay clean, so that's a good thing. Camelia sinensis oil, it's also very cheap. So it's a great idea. It's much cheaper than 3-in-1 or WD-40 or many other things. Never buy it in cosmetic stores, because then it's super expensive. So you'll find a link down below, and almost every tool supplier, they will have, if they are specialized tool suppliers, they will have Camelia oil, and it's very cheap and yeah, very handy and clean to use, especially if you use this kind of little pad. And I have some new ideas to improve upon this, and I really want to make this tool. It's a dream of mine to make it maybe even for sale, because I think I can improve upon this and give you something that I would really like to have in my workshop. So don't forget to like this video if you're finding it interesting and you actually like it. It's a great help for us, and please remember to subscribe. Subscribing is a great free way to support us. So let's carry on with this. Let's do the yearly maintenance, the annual maintenance of this tool. And for this, the first thing I'm going to do is to disassemble it this way. This I can leave it aside. Here I have the wedge. And the first thing I'm going to do is just to protect one of my hands. I usually, even when I apply finishes, usually I will leave one hand without a glove. I find it very handy, because this way I can touch things and knowing I'm not leaving fingerprints with a finish, or in this case we're going to use light machine oil. This is 3-in-1 oil, and I want to know the hand that's handling the tool, it's going to be nice and dry. So I will keep disassembling everything. I remove the screws, and now I'm going to take the frog. You know, the other day we spoke about the frog and all the, you know, these mouth opening adjustments. Today is the day we're going to remove everything. As I say, once a year it's a good idea to do this. So I come in here and I'm going to undo the screws just like the other day. But this time I'm going to undo them fully. So the whole frog becomes disengaged. And you'll get to see a bit more of the anatomy of this wonderful DICTUM hand planes, which are Bedrock style, classic, really. Nowadays produced by many people, many companies. That's the last screw right here. And now we can remove the frog, and you will see it gets all filthy and there's always dust and debris hiding in there. So it's a good idea once a year to give all of this a nice cleanup. Okay. Yeah, that removing the frog completely, maybe you can do it every 2 or 3 years as well. It's not so important, but some of the other things we're gonna do in a minute, those you should do them always, every year. I usually take a quiet moment in summer after my intensive courses where all the students have gone, and then I reflatten all the workbenches and take care of every hand tool in my workshop. And for that, we'll see quite a few things now. The first one I'm gonna do is I'm going to use this tiny nylon brush, which I love, to remove all the debris from the tight corners, especially in this surface here. Also this screw here, which actually I'm going to remove it completely and we'll treat it separately. And I'll continue just cleaning. By the way, this brush here, I just love it. I've been using it for quite a few years. I got it from a Japanese home store or something like that. It's called Muji, and I think they are worldwide available, and they have cleaning things like this, and they have these little brushes to, you know, to get really into tight corners, and I think that's a good tool to have. I'm gonna buy a few more and keep them. Nylon is good. Brass, it's okay, but maybe a little too aggressive for some metal surfaces. It could be okay for steel, but not, of course, not for bronze, not for brass. You know, you want something softer. So this is stiff enough, and yeah, it works very well. You can see I'm removing also from the painted parts of the casting, removing all the dirt. And also the frog here. And you can see here we've got some remainings of what seems to be oil, dried oil. So sometimes some oils, they will harden a little bit and become gummy. Camelia oil is one of them, and it will build up traces like this one. They may look like rust, but they're not, and it's the next thing we're going to be addressing. So if we get back to the main body of the plane, you can see here this spot is just hundreds of Camelia oil coats hardened. They become gummy and slightly sticky, but they're not a problem at all because they're very easy to remove. Once a year you just get alcohol, regular alcohol, and you can remove them very easily, and that's what I'm going to do now. This dry Camelia oil is a very solid rust shield really for your plane, so it's not a bad thing whatsoever, and it will never form in the sole because the sole has constant friction. So the first passes you do with your hand plane, they will remove completely all the traces of Camelia oil every time, and nothing becomes, you know, sticky or anything like that. So let's get to do that. I'm just taking a piece of paper here, kitchen paper, that's fine. And this is alcohol from a pharmacy store. You could get, you know, ethanol from DICTUM, that's fine. Any alcohol that is non-poisonous. We discussed that in our shellac video. Some alcohols are quite nasty and poisonous through your skin, so be careful with that. And I can see right away how this layer gets dissolved, and I can just take another one and dry it out completely. And here we are. Okay, so this is only a matter of aesthetics. You don't really need to do that to improve performance in your tool, especially in those parts that are not having any you know, relevance. But this one here at the bottom of the frog, this you want to keep it clean and rust free. So I'm gonna continue here. That's much nicer now. And I can just remove some of the debris in that part. Now, wooden handles. It depends on the manufacturer. Some manufacturers, wooden handles, they are protected with different kinds of products, and some of them, they will be dissolved by alcohol. For instance, Veritas planes, they have a very thick protective coat, but it's not very good for cleaning with alcohol. So I do it just with water and a little bit of soap, and that will do away with all the, you know, hands fat and all the filth. And I don't think I need to remove the handles. These ones from DICTUM, they get a very heavy coat of whatever it is, and you can throw almost anything at it. But some really premium hand plane manufacturers, maybe Lie-Nielsen, they coat their handles, I think, with wax or a blend of wax and oil, and that's a very light protection. I actually, the ones in Lie-Nielsen tools, I like to apply a couple of coats of Osmo every maybe 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. When I see it starts getting a little bit, you know, fragile, it looks like the wood starts being unprotected, then I will clean it thoroughly and apply some more oil. Okay. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is make sure there is no rust anywhere. If there was any rust, you know from the first video in this series, what we do is just to remove it with 4-0 steel wool and metal polish. That's very, very simple. And there is a part here I wanted to bring your attention to, which is this part of the frog, which will be in contact with the blades. And when you do lateral adjustment with lever or maybe with tapping, the blade is rubbing on this surface here. And this surface will benefit greatly from a quick rub with steel wool. You want to avoid at all costs to have rust in here, okay? Because then the lateral adjustment will lose sensitivity, and so that's very important. So I think that's totally fine, but you could, you know, improve a little bit, remove a little bit of the friction from this very precisely machined surface, doing it in that way with the metal polish, and you will find there is a much nicer adjustment, and you can feel the friction when you use the lever, also when you tap, and you'll gain a little bit of you know, a little bit of sensitivity there. I'm going to remove this knob or whatever you call this, threaded thing. So you want to be careful because this tends to fall. Yeah, you see. So usually you want to do this much closer to the workbench, which, by the way, I have protected with a sacrificial board, which is only for metal working and this kind of filthy stuff. Okay. So let's get the screws now. I'm going to remove all the debris in all the screws. And once I've done it, I use line machine lubricant. This one is 3-in-1. It's my favorite. And I've got it without the aerosol part, without being a spray. So I can very deliberately apply a drop where I want it and my hands stay clean. And I like that very much, as you can imagine. So, and I think this one's cheaper even than the aerosol one. So that's a good idea. I was always, you know, slightly displeased with these sprays that get the oil everywhere, and this way I can be much more precise. Okay, now that's all the debris gone out, and I'm going to apply a tiny drop in every screw. Yep. And this will make sure, if you do this every year, this hand plane will get to 100 years old in top performance, and no problem at all with that. You know, that's what you get when you buy a good quality hand planes. They're forever, almost. So I think there's some kind of beauty in relating to matter in this way, through care, through, you know, in a way you're honoring not only the tool itself, which is an amazing form of structured matter with its own life and its own destiny, and it gives you superpowers in a way. It helps you understand wood in a way that you wouldn't through your own senses. So, yeah. Anyway, the wedge, this one is stainless steel, so I don't think I need to do anything other than just give it a quick clean up. You know, there's a great book by Arthur Lochmann, and it's originally it is in French, but you'll find it in English or in Spanish. It's been translated. He was I think a philosopher who turned woodworker, and he made houses in France. Oh, he makes, and he's got some very interesting ideas. One of them being that tools are a necessary middleman between you and the timber. You can experience timber through touching it. You can lick it, you can bite on it, but the way to really know a piece of timber is taking a saw to it and see how it saws differently, cross-grained and long-grained, and all of those you know, tiny experiences we get when we're working. So I'm gonna shut up now and carry on. I will put a little bit of oil in every surface that needs protection, and now I'm spreading it just with the with this brush. You could do it just with a piece of paper as well. Very important, these parts here, they want to be nice and protected. So I'll leave you the link to that book in the description as well. As in every video, you'll find all the links, related links there. Okay. And this one, now it's ready for assembly. And within a week, my new students are coming in, and they will be able to enjoy tools that are in top condition. So I'm gonna get everything back. These screws, by the way, they work in combination with this pin here. I don't really know how is this called, but it has this kind of conical shape, which is related to this conical tip of the screw, and this is a slightly offset, and this is what holds everything down in place. So I'm going to put this screw in and we'll install the frog back. You shouldn't be afraid of, taking everything apart. If you're careful, and especially if you have the right screwdrivers, you won't break anything. So you can see now these pins go in here, and they have a tiny dot that helps me orient the conical part to where I want. And now this goes this way. And I must see that everything is engaged as it should. And then screw everything in place. Okay, going to get rid of this and use the screwdriver. This screwdriver is very handy. This one is made from Lee Nielsen for this specific purpose, and it fits the screws. Also these DICTUM screws very nicely. So, but you can do that with any other screwdriver. You can file it and make it, make your own screwdrivers if you need to. There's no problem with that. Although I just love this one. I think that's a work of art, really. And but they're very pricey. So let's continue with the adjustment wheel. Okay, and so I'm making sure the yoke engages, and there it is, and it feels super nice and smooth, and that's what it should feel like. And finally this one here. So that's all. The last thing we need to do is to reinstall the blade. You could, clean the blade, the chip breaker, in the same way we've done the rest of this. And I will put the lever cap. And quite possibly I'll need to, readjust all those screws for the right tension. And I wanted to mention one more thing. If you have brass planes, that's my Lee Nielsen number 5.5, and this is my 4.5. And you can see the lever cap here is in bronze. This year, for the first time, I decided to polish the bronze, and it looks really nice. I think but there's absolutely no need to do that. That's only a matter of aesthetics. Some people prefer, the look of very aged bronze, but the tool itself, it performs the same. It won't rust at all. And so but you could do that if you want it to look neat and sleek and fancy, but that's all. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you around here.